Council President, committee members, and participants. We are now live.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. This morning, we will hear testimony from the Mayor's Office of Children and Families, Parks and Recreation, and the Department of Human Services. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
And then my question for Park and Rec as a follow-up. Hey, Katherine, always good to see you. I want to know, in terms of, I'm also advocating, particularly for district council members who receive ITEF funding to specifically focus on the maintenance of our parks and our recreational facilities, capital maintenance of our parks and recreational facilities. How we're doing, I believe we do need an increase as it relates to inflation. If we're going to do $40 million for rebuild, I think it's $40 million for rebuild. For the parks that aren't rebuilt, we want to still maintain and continue to build new playgrounds and build new basketball courts, and that $1.5 million just isn't getting it. And so I want to put that on the record. In regards to the capital projects that aren't rebuild related, I'm advocating for an increase in the funding that's provided, particularly for district council members that have Parks and Rec agendas that don't fall in line with actual rebuild. And I know inflation goes up, but at the same time, we're still trying to, it's like the demand for new recreation centers, for new playground equipment, for new basketball, and we keep trying to catch up. I know you know, because I've been calling on a day-to-day basis, so I'm like, we got to do something different moving forward because we're trying to keep up. So can you just give me an idea of where are we?
Yeah. So, yes, you call Council President Clarke, call everybody has our cell phone numbers, and appreciate you giving that shout out to our great capital team at Parks and Rec, but it is a challenge, and you are 100% right in your initial question, or comments that, the rebuild initiative is extraordinary. However, it is only funding 72 sites, and of those 72 sites, not 100%. Of what needs to happen at those sites. We're having to make some very difficult choices even to keep within the budget for those sites. We do everything we can to keep up with the maintenance of these facilities. However, they are aging facilities. We have over 500 buildings in our system at Parks and Recreation. 170 of them are rec centers, but we have buildings at playgrounds. We have 900 ball fields and courts. We have, over 250 playgrounds, 150 spray grounds. We are blessed as Philadelphians with a massive system, and certainly, struggle with how we can continue to manage and maintain those assets, given all of the needs of our city, and the use that our system gets. Certainly, have to acknowledge that additional support would be welcome.
I go to Chew, I go to Wharton Square Park, I go to Star Garden, I go to Sigga, take my children there on a regular and daily basis. And for us, it's a safe haven, right? But I also know the maintenance and the upkeep, right? Because I get calls from, my constituents regarding how some of our courts look and, what parks need to be revitalized or what spray parks that we need to have. And then obviously it's always a challenge to make sure that we're advocating for the resources to do it to keep our young people safe. So I just want
Councilman Thomas.
On the Parks and Rec side, I heard a lot of questions around issues as it relates to rebuild stuff and things of that capacity. First of all, Commissioner, I appreciate you and your team. I spend more time in your rec centers than I probably should be. But I'm specifically looking at FDR Park. I had a constituent reach out to us to talk about concerns around turf and the health hazard that building so much turf at FDR Park could create. Now, I have to be honest, Commissioner, I've advocated for spaces like Cecil B. Moore, where we know a lot of our teams use that field, which is a turf field. And I know we have other turf fields across the city. I'm not going to pretend to be a health expert, but I will ask, what do you know about health issues related to possibly building so much turf, and what are we doing about those possible problems?
Thanks for that question, Councilman, and thank you, of course, for all of your support of Parks and Rec and young people. We are proposing in the plan for FDR to build 12 performance turf fields. So that is definitely the intent. Performance turf, we feel, which is artificial turf, so just non-grass fields, is and you know this as a coach, is just increases the utility, the playability of those fields by tenfold. It is a natural grass field, for every artificial turf field, it equals 3 natural grass fields in terms of the amount of playability. And that for us is, just a real priority. Right now we have 5 artificial turf fields in our system. That's just 5. And they are incredibly oversubscribed, as you know, and heavily used. What we are committing to though is to really look into turf fields at FDR that are fields that do not contain toxic chemicals such as PFAS. And then we have already begun researching with our partners who are leading this project at the Fairmount Park Conservancy, the potential vendors for those non-toxic products. So there are several companies who are producing turf products that meet those guidelines, and that's what we're looking to implement at FDR, if at all possible.
Okay, great. So Commissioner, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that we send you over some of the concerns that were sent to us, and if you can get us a response back to some of that stuff, so we can make sure that folks understand that we're moving in a way that's in the best interest of the city. That would be appreciated. This is news to me. It was news to me. It was information that I wasn't aware of, and I'm a sports person all the way through and through. But it was information that I said that I would definitely put on the record and communicate to you today, and I'll make sure that we get you much more information in depth in writing. And of course, thank you for you and your team.
Commissioner Ott, so this whole turf field issue, and I'm always, as I try to take my role seriously as a council president, so I try not to be as biased towards my district council role as I would be if I were not the council president. So I had to look at things in a global perspective, but I got to look at the district council perspective, particularly when I have a Hetzel field that you know about. We're having this discussion and you talk about overprescribed to the point where they're looking to go to Lighthouse Field to play soccer and some other type of sports, which is a significant distance away from Hetzel Field. And I have another one on the other side of my district. And I'm always told about the costs associated with these fields. And as was referenced earlier by Councilman Johnson about this, our ITEF funding, where you literally get enough money to fully fund maybe 2 rec centers in your district at best. And our ability to get a turf field with our ITEF funding is problematic at best. And when I hear about the FDR field, I understand that, where it's located and all of that. And I guess the citywide significance, I guess. I do have to say that I'm a little concerned about getting 12 turf fields at FDR, but I can't get one at Hetzel because I don't have enough money. I know that's not you calling the shots on that, but I guess I'm just sending a signal that is going to be a real conversation prior to us concluding this budget process. It's like I can't, I just can't do it with my ITEF. So we need to, how much was going into FDR total?
There's $50 million over from the city over the course of the project. I will say that we're still raising funds for the field. So right now we have funding for 5, but we don't have funding for. I mean, this is a 10-15 year plan for FDR. So we have funding, or I should say, we're still raising funds to do the initial set of 5 fields. And I totally agree with you, Council President. We have a field crisis in the city of Philadelphia. It's not a crisis that is unique to South Philadelphia. South Philadelphia feels it acutely. There is one turf regulation field in all of South Philadelphia that serves 20,000 young people between the ages of 5 and 17. There is not
Right.
one council member who doesn't hear from constituents, from youth football teams, from soccer teams, from track programs, you name it, who aren't, struggling with the field crisis. We have teams, football teams, soccer teams, who are, raise money to play their games in the suburbs, in Upper Darby, in Camden, because they don't have access to high quality fields. We have leagues who look at our fields and say, they're not good enough. We can't have a regulation game here because the field is in such a state of disrepair. We spend over $750,000 annually to maintain our fields. We could spend quadruple that, and quite frankly, it still wouldn't be enough, because the way that the demand of our fields, the demand is on our fields, and this is a good problem to have, right? We want youth football programs. We want more of them. We want more kids in soccer programs. We want more kids in baseball programs. But the pressure that puts on our fields is really significant in terms of the utility and the playability. If it rains, technically, you should not use a field the next day. That doesn't happen in the city of Philadelphia. We don't have the luxury of just a Pop Warner team can't just cancel a game, when they have 10 teams playing. And, and I will say the other pressure on this is, when a charter school is built, and we know how many charter schools have come up in the last 10, 15 years, they don't come with fields. So now all those charter schools are using our fields, right? Which puts more pressure on our fields and more conflict between community groups and the charter schools. We have, some of the public and Catholic schools who use our field. So there's pressure coming at us at all angles. And what artificial turf allows us to do is to increase the playability and utility of that field. You can play on that field 24/7, 365, right? And it will still be a high quality field. So understanding that we have to keep safety of young people in mind, top of mind, I do believe that there is a way to have an inventory of artificial turf fields while also maintaining safety for young people. And I think, we have to do it, and we should be doing it in every neighborhood of the city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So you've made my case. We need to put more money in artificial fields. I'm getting the commissioner to agree with our request for additional funding. So
well, I would say I support it. I support it.
All right. Now I recognize Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Yes, thank you so much, Council President. I'm going to start with Parks and Recreation. But at any rate, I wanted to talk about the tree bill and providing an update on the implementation of our tree bill, and how you all have spent or are spending the initial sort of $1.8 million that we allocated last year, trees and urban heat island mitigation. And you know how much I care deeply about that issue. So I just wanted to get the sort of full update on the tree bill, the tree plan, the urban ag plan, and everything regarding trees at PPR, and then I'll go from there.
Well, Councilmember, we can't thank you enough for your support of all those great plans, environmentally focused plans. We are so excited about the Philly Tree Plan, which, as you know, is a 10-year plan to basically restore, protect, and grow the urban forest throughout Philadelphia. And we were so grateful to the administration for giving us funding this year to begin implementing that plan, close to $1.8 million. And that is going to go to the following areas. Number one, to create a city forester position and their support team. This is the first ever position of city forester that will be introduced into the administration and the city. It will reside in Parks and Recreation, but it will have it will liaise with city agencies throughout the city, everyone from health to sustainability to licenses and inspection, and we'll have a support team that really enables us to be as collaborative as possible. Really think about it as a one-stop shop for trees. The Philly Tree Plan has a robust and significant, dollar amount that we're going to need consistently over the next 20 to 30 years in city government to really meet our goals of that tree plan. So we are, excited, but also cautious that, we need to continue to see a high level of support for the implementation of that plan moving forward.
I just wanted to mention this because I've been stopped on the street. I was stopped at an event last week by two folks in another community group, but they have stopped me about and have reached out to me and have sought meetings with my office regarding the significant, I hear the bell, but I just want to get this on the record and then we can circle back on round two, but regarding significant concerns with flooding and the wetlands with the FDR Park project. And I know some of the groups that participate even in the Environmental Civilian Advisory Committee have asked about it. So I just wanted to get that on the record and just sort of get a response. But I heard the bell. I'll circle back on the next round. But I have been stopped even as late as this week about this issue.
President, council member, thank you for that that comment about FDR. We know that there has been outreach done by some activists around concerns around FDR, and we continue to meet with those individuals to work with them and talk with them about the plan for FDR. We are happy to meet with your office individually and go through with you the plan itself, as well as the very, again, similarly to the tree plan, robust community engagement that has been done around this plan over the last 5 years. It is one of the most environmentally conscious plans that has plans for a public space that has ever been done in the city of Philadelphia. We have incredible environmentalists, landscape architects working on this plan. We did a completely separate hydrology study funded by the William Penn Foundation to ensure that us, as well as our partners at the airport, which are doing a major wetland restoration project there, are working within all of the appropriate environmental guidelines.
Commissioner,
yes.
I apologize for interrupting you. I just want you to know I asked the airport about their project as well, because I know it goes into the Tenneco Township portion of the airport property. So I want you to know I did ask them this yesterday, but I wanted to make sure that I followed up with you all today, because like I said, I was stopped at an event even last week about this issue. And I know that you all do great community engagement because I saw it play out with the tree plan. I just want to make sure we do that this particular time and that the community feels that they are being heard and have the opportunity to provide feedback as a part of this process. But also what I asked them to do was to send me a list of questions that I could then send to your office that we can get written responses to, so that they feel as though they have adequate information on all the questions that they have, because I'll be honest, I couldn't answer the questions. I did not know the answers, and I didn't want to give them incorrect information. So I just, ask that if we're able to transmit those questions for response for the group that's, I don't even remember the name of the group. I have to get it from my staff. But they stopped me at an event, and I want to make sure that we are being responsive to them, that they feel as though they are engaged and involved in this process, and that their voices can be heard in whatever meetings are had or whatever, opportunities to provide engagement are had, and that the feedback is incorporated in whatever the plans will be. Okay. And I haven't met with you all about this individually, so I really don't know, and I look forward to doing that meeting, but I just want to make sure from a community perspective that we're being responsive to people and registering their concerns.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, council member. We've received those questions and we'll get those answers back to you by Friday at the latest. And then we'll also schedule a briefing with your office and your staff. Thank you.
Okay, that'll be great. Thank you.
You got it.